Dr. James Walker had spent 20 years mastering the brain. He was known at St. Vincent's Hospital as the man who could make miracles happen with a scalpel. Yet he believed miracles were only the byproduct of human intelligence. "We create our own outcomes," he'd often say during grand rounds. His faith was data. His Bible, the anatomy textbook. That certainty shattered one ordinary Tuesday. The patient was a young woman with a massive aneurysm deep inside her temporal lobe. The operation was delicate, timed to the rhythm of the heart. The room smelled of antiseptic and cold steel. Walker had done this procedure countless times until the world suddenly narrowed to a flash of burning heat in his chest. A nurse shouted, "Dr. Walker, are you all right?" He tried to answer, but his throat locked. The scalpel slipped from his hand and clattered onto the tray. Then came the crushing weight on his chest, the collapse, and the echoing sound of his own heart monitor flatlining, crossing the line. In the instant of his fall, everything stilled. He was no longer lying on the floor but hovering above it, watching the team scramble around his body. He saw his colleague, Dr. Shaw, kneel beside him and call for the crash cart. He saw his own face, ashen, lifeless. Yet he felt no fear, only an expanding awareness of something vast. The room began to dissolve into light, layer by layer, until the hospital walls faded into a brilliance that pulsed with warmth. The light did not blind, it embraced. Within it stood a figure radiating compassion so tangible it felt like air. Walker knew without introduction it was Jesus. He tried to speak, but realized that communication here wasn't made of words. The thoughts of his heart became visible, regret for arrogance, for neglecting the people behind the data. And Jesus looked at him, eyes like oceans of understanding, and replied not with condemnation, but with love that burned and healed all at once. "You have studied the brain," Jesus said, "but you have not understood the mind that gives it life." Walker wept without tears. "I didn't believe you were real," he thought. "Faith isn't belief in spite of evidence," the voice returned. "It's trust in spite of control. I gave you skill to heal the body. Now use it to heal the heart." The scene unfolded further. Hospitals filled with the sick, the homeless waiting outside his clinic, his own estranged daughter standing in the rain. Jesus extended a hand toward them all, and the light poured through Walker into the vision. "Go back," he said gently. "Show mercy greater than logic." Back to the table. A violent jolt tore him backward. He gasped, lungs screaming for air as electricity surged through his chest. Voices swarmed. "We've got a rhythm," a nurse cried. 6 minutes had passed since his heart had stopped. The defibrillator pads were still pressed against his skin. Walker blinked at the ceiling lights. They were harsh, artificial, nothing like the living radiance he had seen, but their glare told him he was alive. Recovery was slow. He spent days in the ICU replaying every moment. His colleagues dismissed it as an anoxic hallucination. Yet Walker could recount every detail of the surgery he'd been performing. The exact moment the suction tube clogged, the instruments Shaw had called for, the color of the nurse's gloves after the third shock. All of it verifiable, all of it impossible under clinical death. He no longer argued. He simply listened and prayed. A new practice. Months later, Dr. Walker resigned from his post as chief neurosurgeon. He opened a free clinic on the city's south side, treating patients who couldn't afford specialized care. "I'm still a doctor," he told reporters, "but the healing I offer now begins with compassion." Former colleagues were puzzled. "Why throw away prestige?" they asked. He smiled. Because prestige never raised a single soul from the dead. Every morning before surgery, he prayed over his instruments. Every patient received the same reassurance. You're not alone. The great physician is with us. Some laughed, others wept, but all felt the strange calm that followed his words. Reflection. Medical journals later published the account as an unexplained resuscitation anomaly. Walker offered no rebuttal. Science explains the mechanism, he said, but not the mercy. He often quoted a verse now etched into his heart. I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, yet shall he live. John chapter 11, 25. When asked what convinced him the experience was real, he answered quietly, because the light didn't just show me heaven, it showed me what heaven wanted me to do on earth.